We're moving on to the second section now, and this is basically I'm going to introduce Jim Stamper, who's a representative of Pensioners for Independence, okay? And this section is really, really important as well, and they're going to explain all that to you when they come on. It's focusing on types and groups of voters and give that information there. The speakers will introduce each other as well. Okay, could you please welcome Mr. Jim Stamper and the team? On you come. Thank you. Thanks, Jim.
Hi everyone. My talk is based on research into the main concerns of pensioners, to which all members of Pensioners for Independence had the opportunity to contribute. The main concern is the economy. Would an independent Scotland's economy be strong enough to support good public services, the National Health Service, pensions and welfare? There's a belief that Scotland is subsidised by the rest of the UK, with a repeated mention of the £15 billion GERS deficit, which is based on estimates and distortions. Even if Scotland's economy had become that bad, this is Scotland under UK governments. As an example, consider how oil and gas resources have been handled by UK government in comparison with the Norwegian government. Since 1971, the UK produced approximately 5% more oil and gas than Norway. Yet Norway generated 2.5 times the revenue that the UK did. That is $700 billion more than the UK. Comparing the national debts of the countries, in the UK, the economy, it is equivalent to a debt per person of £29,000. Norway, meanwhile, has a sovereign wealth fund equivalent to a credit per person of £126,000. Scotland's economy is at risk as part of the UK economy. Particularly with Brexit, it's not strong, not stable, not secure. There is concern that there is resentment that pensioners appear to be well off. The pensioners most people are aware of are driving about, travelling on buses freely, chatting in restaurants and cafes. Workers may resent them even if their jobs depend on them, particularly as state pensions increase while wages are stagnant. However, no pensioner is well off because of the state pension, which as a proportion of average wages is one of the worst in the developed world. Actually, pensioners have mostly worked hard to build what they have. With occupational pensions, some pensioners have a good final salary index-linked pensions, which are no longer available due to tax changes imposed by Gordon Brown as Chancellor. Also not to be forgotten are the not so visible, the poor with only a state pension, the disabled and the ill, who are often isolated with little or no access to community. Some current workers also resent paying for the state pensions of current pensioners. It must be remembered, although pensioners' contributions have not been saved for pensions, they were theoretically invested in the United Kingdom infrastructure. Unfortunately, UK governments have often misspent this money, such as on illegal wars and Trident. Most participants in the concerns of pensioners research are against Trident, unlike a certain pensioner in the White House. From the new Scottish CND branch in Arden, John Page suggests the slogan, "Pensions, not projectiles." Current workers resent seeing the age at which they will receive their state pension constantly increasing. Particularly badly affected are those women whose qualifying age suddenly increased from 60 to 66, costing them over £38,000 each. For all of these pensions issues, don't blame pensioners, blame UK government policies. These examples show pensions are not safe in the UK. Another misconception is that pensioners don't contribute. They do. They pay taxes, contribute to the local community, spending money in local shops and services. They often help in local charities, help with childcare for their families and with care for their partners. And their own care requirements also support local employment. Another false impression is that pensioners have always had things good, including affordable housing. Many pensioners, when they were young, faced housing conditions with no inside toilet, no hot water tap, no central heating. Men often worked in heavy industry with minimum health and safety. Women often had little choice but to stay at home, hand washing clothes and caring for a family with no modern appliances. The theme of the lucky well-off pensioner made me realise a disproportionate number of pensioners are from the better-off socio-economic groups. A higher proportion of the poorer have not survived to benefit from their pensions. One effect of this is that many better-off pensioners may believe that their generation's apparent success means there's nothing wrong, so why change it? It's a distortion. Don't anyone forget the uncomfortable truth of the poor who contributed but didn't live to benefit. We owe them more than that. A major concern is reduction of community, leaving people isolated and lonely. Many pensioners' friends have gone and families often move away. Pensioners and the poor without cars suffer disproportionately from cuts in social and community provision, cuts in bus services, closures of post offices and libraries. When increases in car ownership made supermarket shopping viable, there was a resulting loss of local shops, local suppliers, local jobs, and reduced local community. This again adversely affected the pensioners and the poor the most. Online shopping is continuing these effects. Local businesses close because they can't keep with those online corporations who don't pay taxes and who exploit workers, so local people lose their jobs. If you buy online purely to save money, can you complain if your job is nixed? Many pensioners are concerned about the situation of the young. Expensive housing, derisory welfare provision, the reducing number of good, well-paid, stable jobs, the distorted value of jobs, with the financial sector overvalued compared to poorly paid carers, for example. There are concerns about current defence priorities, with spending on aircraft carriers and Trident, warmongering in Libya and Iraq, and concerns about selling arms for wars in Syria and Yemen, then refusing even to allow a few resulting lone child refugees to enter the UK. I personally am ashamed to be British. What about pensioners' attitude to the UK? Many remember the good after the Second World War, the inception of the NHS, provision of council housing. They are often ignorant of or forget policies against the interests of Scotland. Labour hiding the Macron report, the imposition of Trident, Brexit. Many pensioners stick to old allegiances. They think that political parties are what they thought they were. The Conservatives, strong, good with the economy, somehow ignoring the national debt approaching £2 trillion despite austerity. The Labour Party, socialists, looked after the workers and the vulnerable, yet in 2015 voted with the Conservatives to continue austerity. Pensioners may listen to that high-principled socialist Gordon Brown, who has now accumulated millions of pounds of personal wealth. Many elderly may feel anxious, vulnerable, unsure of themselves. They fear loss of control. They want to believe that in the future their care will be in the good hands of the wise and strong UK establishment, who they have been loyal to and who they trust will take care of them in a scary world. We must point out that while they were trusting and loyal, that loyalty was abused. As they had done with the rest of the empire, the UK establishment asset stripped Scotland of its industries, utilities, oil revenue, Scottish fishing. They simultaneously also stripped us of our self-respect, our respect for each other, and our respect for our nation. This happened under our watch. Pensioners may fear change, but change is inevitable, especially with Brexit. They should instead be afraid of the future in the UK with more exploitation, inequality, and wars. They should be afraid of the legacy they are condemning their children and grandchildren to. Don't insult the younger generations by believing those distant establishment figures can run Scotland better than our own people and our own communities. Any image of a strong UK is increasingly an illusion. Quoting again from John Page, who is also a member of Pensioners for Independence, let us talk about independence and how it releases us from the old systems and allows us to write a new story. Thank you.